so what we have right now is a cup that's not only overflowing, but it's like the tap is still going full steam ahead. I think the main difference now that we have is that in the past, although there was high levels of immigration and they were definitely focused on one country at a time, it seems, or at least one kind of geographic region at a time, it might seem. But we were able to meet the demand for housing back then, and there were either there was policy in place that allowed it to happen, or for whatever reason, things worked at that point in time financially in order to incentivize the people that need to build the stuff so that there isn't the kind of environment that we're in right now. And so when you have a cup and you fill it with water, there's only so much water that's going to fit in that cup before it starts spilling over. And TK, we've talked about it so many times. 3 years ago, we were afraid of the idea of 400,000 people coming in the next year when they announced it. And then very quickly, they announced it's actually going to be 425, and everybody was crazy. And it turned into 1.2 million. And then it turned into like 2 million over 2 years. And so what we have right now is a cup that's not only overflowing, but it's like the tap is still going full steam ahead. Even though we turn it a little bit down for the immigrants coming for education now, it's so overflowing that nothing here in the country can handle it. And that's a very weird place to kind of raise a family or start your life or career, I think.
Navraj, have you seen an increase to the, like in your living standards? What were the, amount of people that were living, in one apartment? Or like, have you seen that increase just like through your own circles, where before, your friends maybe were like, hey, let's get a roommate on a 2-bedroom. But now it's like, hey, let's have 3 people in a 2-bedroom, or, those type of things. Have you seen that?
I personally haven't, because I work in like a sector which pays decently, so people like to, maintain their living standard. Like housing is the first thing that they prioritize. I feel like people usually prioritize housing. I also do the same. So for me, I personally haven't seen that shift yet, but I'm sure it has happened quite significant. There's significant impact on people like trying to like room up now, just to save costs because it's so expensive.
We had that issue at the University of Toronto Scarborough campus. I was talking about it at the beginning of the show, and that the Chinese students were all being put in these unsafe conditions, and then they cracked down on it, and it was a big news thing, maybe 5-6 years ago. Now it's the Indian students. I'm going back now in my head. So in the late 50s and early 60s, my dad had, they had 8 brothers total, plus their parents, plus his grandmother, in a 3-bedroom house on McCowan Road with an unfinished basement. So they were all on the main floor, and they rented out the living room to another family. That's what you did.
That's what you did. My
You're trying to
grandparents
survive.
too. Yeah,
And
my
eventually they
grandparents.
were like, well, they're going to get another house. And then that brother moved out. He got married. They got their own place. They wanted their own place. And over time, they eventually spread out till they were all in their own home. This is just how it works here in Canada. I don't think it's anything new, to be honest. It seems like information seems to be released in a way that's very political these days. And so they're spreading these stories through social media and the traditional media in order to be able to just get people to be angry and fearful, and maybe change their vote or figure out what's wrong. But at the end of the day, these stories are, I
No,
would
but
say, par for the course
maybe
growing
don't
up.
you think that it has gotten harder for that to, happen in the current climate now? Like your family, for example, splitting out and moving to different houses. You think it's possible still in this day and age? Like if you start off together at the current prices and rates?
How are you affording it right now, Navrash?
I live with my family, so that's how I afford it.
But do you know what I mean? Like I get what you're saying, and I'm not disagreeing with you. Believe me. Yes, it seems like compared to 8 years ago, 10 years ago, 30 years ago, things are more difficult. But there are people doing it right now, right? And so I think that there is got to be a level of responsibility that people take. Maybe Toronto is not the city that you can afford to live in based off of your income and all these type of things. Maybe your living standards are too high. Maybe you should be living in a basement apartment. Maybe you should live in a condo with your family instead of a detached house, whatever. But, you know, there's got to be some self responsibility. I don't agree with all this. I want it to get better. I want prices to come back. I just know I can't control any of those things. And so I look at my own situation and say, okay, could I afford to be in a bigger house? I don't live in a big house. Could I afford to be in a bigger house? I could probably pay for it. I don't know how my life would be. I probably wouldn't like it, but I'm comfortable living in a house that's within my means, that I can afford, that I know that there's never going to be an issue, you know, paying the bills. To me, that makes me feel comfortable. There are people who choose otherwise. And so, you know, these are all the things that I think people are very, they avoid those type of situations. That being said, something needs to change. We need more housing, guys. That's it. Hey guys, thanks for watching our clips channel. Why don't you go and check out some more clips? We got lots of other good content somewhere over here. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
Boom.
That was good.
That was good. I like that. That was good.